Oh my god, what am I thinking? I'm making a video on YouTube. This is terrible. Hello, I'm Serena Tortellini, and I'm here to share something with all of you. Something of profound significance. I watch movies sometimes. I know that can be a weird thing to hear from a person you've never seen before, especially since it's such a niche thing to like. I also like TV shows and video games, so you're probably thinking,
Movies? TV? You mean you're not going to talk about plant classification and Linnaean biological taxonomy? You're a weirdo.
yes, I am. So the Groundhog Day trope is a thing that happens in media quite a lot, I've noticed. And I want to talk about it because I'm a person with thoughts and feelings about things. I assume that's most people's reason for contributing to discourse. So let's see if I can do this thing. Content warning: suicide, mental health, violence. Now, this is a trope that predates the thing it's named for. Star Trek used it. There were various short stories and plays that used it. But I'm going to start with the thing. And that thing is, of course, the 1992 film Shrek 2. Groundhog Day begins like any other 90s comedy. Garfield, a grumpy human weather boy, voiced by Bill Murray, tells people a blizzard is going to yeet itself away from Pennsylvania. Then he and his friends are tasked with doing news coverage in Punxsutawney during Groundhog Day and all the festivities and fun times. And Garfield's a big old grump about it.
I hate this place. I stayed here 2 years ago. I was miserable. It's a flea bag.
He goes to bed and wakes up the next day in a nice little bed and breakfast to a very good song and does the report, and he immediately wants to get the heck out of there. But it turns out the blizzard didn't eat itself away, so Garfield has to stay another day. He wakes up the next day and slowly realizes that all the events from the previous day are repeating.
Didn't we do this yesterday?
I don't know what you mean.
And the next day, and the next day,
And the next day, and the next day, and the next day.
his first reaction was like, F you, I'm gonna do whatever the F I want. No consequences, heck yeah. Then he tries to make his news colleague, Rita, his GF by going on the perfect hot date with her. But that doesn't work out. So then he starts to get fed up and tries to break the loop. First by driving with the groundhog off of a cliff. Then he kills himself several times with various methods to no avail. He's a bigger grump than he ever has been. He shares what's up with Rita by demonstrating all the things and events he's memorized and stuff he knows about the townsfolk. And she's totes sympathetic, and they have a genuine, passionate moment together that night, but things still reset. His attitude shifts after this, and he begins doing lots of things to improve himself and the lives of Punxsutawney's residents best he can. One day after presenting the Groundhog Day festivities super non-grumpishly,
Among the people of Punxsutawney, and basking in the warmth of their hearths and hearts.
Rita sees him at a charity bachelor auction, and she's very shocked at how everyone in town knows him and adores him, so she buys him and makes him her BF. It's really cute. He wakes up the next day, and it's finally the next day, and he's with Rita. So he's like, "Ayy," and Rita's like, "Ayy," and then he's like, "Let's live here." Roll credits, applause, the end. So this is the Groundhog Day trope. A segment of time repeats, usually a day, and our protagonist is the only one that experiences the time loop linearly. They have to wrap their brain around it and either find a way to break out of the loop or to cope with it, usually resulting in a dramatic change on their part. Garfield was a grump with 0 GF, but after decades, as theorized by nerds, of experiencing the same day, he became not a grump with non-0 GF. As I said before, this is a trope I've seen a lot in media. Last Day of Summer, Suzumi Haruhi no Yutsu, Phineas and Ferb, Happy Death Day, ReZero, Adventure Time, Russian Doll, Majora's Mask. It's heckin' everywhere, used with a fair bit of deviation. But let's see if we can find commonality. It's basically universal that these stories begin at or slightly before an origin point, the time that the character reverts back to when things reset. They go about their lives as normal, and little things are brought to our attention that they're just like, yeah, this is my life. Then time resets, and we're brought through all of these events again, exactly as they happened before. And the character starts out with this sort of mixture of denial and I'm having the weirdest deja vu right now. But eventually they come to realize, oh, heck, what day is it? What the hell is going on? Things repeat again, and we start to get our character's true reaction to their predicament. Fear, panic, excitement, dread, bewilderment, any number of things really. But once the initial shock begins to wear off, the character becomes determined to solve their predicament, to break the cycle. They develop deep personal relationships with the people around them who at the beginning of the story are like total strangers to them. They might reach out to other characters for help, explaining their predicament and demonstrating their omniscience.
He's going to fall right now. Any questions?
They sometimes fall in love with these characters, and once the character completes their arc, the time loop ends, whether they willed it to or by some manner of serendipity.
Something is different.
Then the story ends. I usually like to think of this trope as more of a force, an entity all its own. Those trapped within the time loop act in ways as if to reason with it and to understand its motivations. They wonder if God has trapped them in some form of purgatory as punishment for their misdeeds.
I'm pretty sure that it's purgatorial punishment for being a bad person.
They may lash out against it in hopes of restoring the status quo. Some feel utterly trapped and hopeless, watching with resignation as the cycle repeats thousands of times, counting each time it happens. Several of these examples involve going back to the origin point only after dying, as if they're in a video game and have to restart the level.
That's what I get for holding up in my room all day gaming.
And it's common for these characters to cope and find meaning by trying to do the most utilitarian good. They're driven by their knowledge of possible bad outcomes and seek to prevent them because they feel like that's their duty. But it's almost undeniable that there's always a sort of motive behind these time loops to shape the character in some way. It's like this force is saying, no, you did this wrong. Go back and do it again. Once you get it right, I'll set you free. I mean, the idea of like divine intervention or divine motive definitely isn't bound to this trope, but it's certainly something often explored within these stories. So like, what do we make of all this? Why does this trope seem to pop up so much? I mean, part of it is obvious. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to watch these characters sort of break down and freak out in response to their predicament. And there's a sort of wish fulfillment fantasy to the idea of just actions having no consequences and just being able to do whatever you want because time repeats. Or to the idea of becoming like an omniscient being. It's simple, it's believable, but also absurd and fantastical.
Dire State, what a can say.
A big part of it is also just Groundhog Day was a popular movie and it made a lot of money, and that allowed it to become a provable, marketable premise, and subsequent uses being successful solidified and but that's boring, right? I mean, there's got to be something more about this that's so resonant with audiences. Lots of people have the desire to seize the day.
They want to go out and live their best life high, and they want to have their moment. They want to gag on the eleganza of life, girl. Okay.
And these stories provide a kind of escapism that allows the viewer to think, dang, what would I do if that were me? People often move through life taking little things for granted, feeling like there's only so much they can do because they're bound to the confines of linear time. It's inspiring to see stories about people making the most of their time, improving themselves, bettering the lives of others, and preventing catastrophe. It's very akin to superhero origin stories in that way. People love the heck out of things like that, man. But there's another side to this, I think. The idea of time being in a loop, every day being the same, being stuck in a rut, feeling helpless, trying to cope with it and make peace with it until finally being able to move forward. It almost sounds shockingly like real life.
What would you do if you were stuck in one place and every day was exactly the same and nothing that you did mattered?
That about sums it up for me.
There is a common experience we have of just being stuck in a certain point of our lives and trying to grow and move past it. This could relate to any kind of struggle with things like mental health, grief, or just growing up. The Adventure Time episode Hall of Egress is a very interesting example in that regard. Finn's origin point is right in front of a door labeled Egress.
What's egress mean?
Exit.
Which is the entrance to a strange mind dungeon where he can't open his eyes or rely on any sort of planning. If he opens his eyes, everything resets. Through this door is the entire world with all of his friends, but Finn must willingly be blind to it all until something is different.
I gotta wait till something's different.
He finds that he needs to go off alone into the wilderness, leaving everyone behind and shedding all marks of his identity. After a long time of wandering, he happens upon the same dungeon contained within this world.
Something's different.
And is finally able to egress and reunite with his old pal Jake. Now, in a show that's all about growth and change, but also about cycles and constants, this episode is incredibly on brand. Growing isn't an easy thing to do, and change isn't an easy thing to accept. You can't force the future, and you can't hold on to the past. You can only accept that change is inevitable. All of the characters in these stories end up egressing, growing in some way, but experiencing a lot of pain, failure, and hopelessness in the process. Basically, what I'm getting at is Linnaeus had no idea what he was doing when it came to classifying plants. He had 23 categories out of a total 24 solely devoted to flowered plants.
Something is different.
The idea of time being in a loop, every day being the same, being stuck in a rut, feeling helpless, trying to cope with it and make peace with it until finally being able to move forward. It almost sounds shockingly like real life, like the reality of the working class person in late capitalist society. Monotony, alienation, perhaps, maybe. In that sense, it kind of feels like this trope could only exist within capitalism. We intuitively feel that our time is being robbed from us, so we latch on to stories where people are given eternity to self-actualize, because how else could it be possible? You know what's more limiting than linear time? The fact that we have to give dozens of hours a week away in exchange for meager recompense. No one can determine their life and destiny if it's being determined for them by their employer, their landlord, the police, or the state. We are already trapped in a cycle. Things cannot and will not continue as they currently are, but we can dictate where they'll go. There's many great people already doing that and doing profound things to make sure that we create a society that can benefit everyone. That is a communist society. Communism, am I right? As a world, we are on the verge of egress. Our lives don't have to be just the same thing over and over. We deserve better. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe, darling. Once you subscribe, you're woke. You've taken the correct colored pill. Here's a new song I've been the little song I've been working on, you know. Groundhog Day is a movie about Garfield. We all stick together because we're all friends and we all love each other, honey. I'm not going to use any of this